we would bring kids in there. I would bring kids in there for it, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. So the idea is this, though. It's pretty interesting. First, it starts from the idea that many hands make light work. We just saw that, right? I couldn't have gotten off there alone. It required all of us to do that. It's so true. I did a tree planting with Trees Atlanta on Saturday. We came a little bit early. And what I saw was 95 people coming together and planting, I don't remember how many trees, but well over 100 trees. And we did it in a couple hours. There's absolutely no way you could do that if you were just a few people, right? Many hands make light work. That's what's happening here in Atlanta, right here, right now. That's what the resilience is about. By the way, before I forget, my connection to resilience is kids and community and us. I think the greatest abundance that we have is right here in this room, right? And the best resilience that we have is right here in this room. And I think when we talk about green infrastructure, I think the most important green infrastructure we've got is our kids. And if any of that funding can go that direction, that would be awesome. We think about structures, but infrastructure is actually us. So many hands like work. This is my favorite. This is actually the very first project we did was building a playground. And this was the very first net structure in the United States that we got from Germany because it wasn't insured here in the United States, and the monopoly of playground owners wouldn't allow a net structure because they didn't have it in their code. When I saw it, I couldn't believe it because we had all these kids who had just done a charrette and said, "We want a giant spider web." Well, I was in the Netherlands and I saw one. I said, "We need to get that here." And I went to the powers that were at the time and they said, "You can't do that." I said, "What do you mean you can't do it? It's like a legitimate thing. We can buy it. It's in a magazine, you know." And the powers that were said, "Yeah, sorry, but it doesn't fit our playground structures." Well, who controls the playground structures? And I learned so much I didn't know about. Ultimately, we said, okay, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to insure it ourselves. I was really naive. And we'll build it. And sure enough, we built it. The insurance adjusters came on their suits and ties and bounced around on it. Said, "This thing is amazing." And we had all these safety records from Europe. And suddenly it became in the code of the playground world. And now you see them all over the country. It's kind of cool, huh? But anyway, this is our first project. Many hands make light work. We started humbly in a trailer. This was a 15-year-old trailer. It already had 15 years of use when we got it. We landed it in the park that I just described to you, and happily started a program with youth. This is what it requires. It doesn't require much. It requires a building. It requires some form of transportation. The very first transportation we had were vans that we borrowed from a local daycare. That's how we started. And it requires a park. And it requires starting. That's all it takes. You've got it here. You've got a park. I can guarantee you've got some daycares that have some extra vans. And I can also guarantee you probably have a better place in some of these parks than that trailer that we have. We didn't have a bathroom. We didn't have a copy machine. We didn't have any of that. That's how we started. So it doesn't take much. But from that, amazing things can happen. And here is really the nugget of the good idea. And if you don't remember anything from today, remember this. So I'm doing research. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm actually a science teacher. I was a pretty good science teacher in Virginia before moving to Milwaukee. And one of the things I learned in high school, what I discovered, is that the kids that I taught learned better when I took them outside. Now, it's not really true. The high-achieving kids just stayed plateaued. They stayed high-achieving. But I could be teaching physics. Didn't have to be biology. I'd put them in a circle, have a little chalkboard easel, and the low-achieving kids, their concentration was better outside than when they were inside. Just anecdotal, one data point, right? But I got interested. So then I started doing research and saying, what's this about? And what I learned is that when you're outside in nature, there's a whole plethora of things that goes on with your psyche. Your stress goes down. You relax. You can actually concentrate more when there's more stuff going on. It's kind of counterintuitive. And it actually works. And so then I started taking kids outside all the time. And I said, this is amazing. What's going on? So that was sort of my beginnings. And then from there, when I got pissed off at the world, I started to realize that it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not even the CEO of Monsanto's fault, right? Although, well, it's not even their fault. Because what's the problem is we humans seem to have a difficult time looking at the full system. We look at a narrow piece instead of the full system. And it started making me realize we need to be teaching people differently. We need to be teaching about the full system. And why is it, actually, that some people care about the environment, like probably everybody in this room, and some people don't? Some people recycle like it's a religion. And some people, it's like, it doesn't even enter their consciousness. You know those people, right? They might be next door. It turns out that they could be next door. You're just as likely to recycle as a high school dropout as you are as a college grad. What does that tell you? Well, it tells me that we're not teaching things right, number one. It also tells me that there's got to be something else going on. Because why do people care? What do you think? Why do some people care and some people not? What do you think you need? Raise your hand if you got an idea.
Go outside.
Go outside. Go outside helps. Go outside helps. But going outside is not just going outside. You can go outside and play soccer all you want. You may not develop what we're looking for. So what do you need? Yeah.
Information.
Actually, information is interesting. I'm glad you said it. Information, when you look at behavior change, and that's ultimately what we're looking for is behavior change, information rarely works. I can tell you 10 different ways that lead paint is bad for kids, but man, that color of that lead paint's amazing, right? And so then you start, this is a little more historical, but then, and you start painting with it, but when your child gets sick because of the lead paint, when it affects your heart, you change. When it gets in your head, you can still change. Information, I'm not putting it down. Information can change you, but it's pretty rare. Usually what affects your heart makes you change. What affects your head takes a longer time, right? Yes?
Curiosity.
Curiosity is critical, right? But where does that curiosity come from? It comes from being in an environment where there's all sorts of things to be curious about. When you go into a classroom, more like the high school classrooms, that they're not decorated as well, usually. It's like, where's your curiosity come from? When you're outside, holy cow, curiosity is everywhere. So, you need to go outside. You need to go outside in a, yeah.
Passion or empathy?
Passion and empathy is important, and that gets, go ahead in the back, you scream in the top.
Systems that make it easy to care and give you feedback on the results of caring.
Wow, that's good. Systems where it makes it easy. You want access? You want ease. Okay, I'm going to shut this down for a minute. I'm just going to tell you the answer. But everybody's correct, yes. But there's two main ingredients you need. You need consistent contact to natural land from an early age. Did you get that? Let's just say that. Consistent contact to natural land from an early age. If you don't remember anything else, remember that. And your idea about passion. Passion comes from mentors. Some people are just unfortunately born with it, but most people require some kind of influence in their life that says, whoa, that is so cool, consistently. And then someone says, whoa, that is so cool. You know what I mean? So what you need is not only consistent contact to natural land from an early age, you also need an environmental mentor in your life. That sounds big, right? But all that is your grandmother who takes you gardening, right? Or your teacher who takes you bird walking. Or your uncle or aunt who takes you hunting, right? And we can quibble about hunting, but we need it. Trust me. There's more deer in the world than we can... Anyway, that's another whole story. I was with the head of the U.S. Forest Service, and he was telling me the biggest problem in the U.S. Forest Service right now is forest fires, number one. Number two is the deer population. Because our forests are not sustainable because we're managing our deer population for a hunting lobby, which thinks you should just sit in a tree and shoot deer instead of tracking them down like we used to do. So the numbers of deer have increased so high that when we plant a tree, it's getting eaten right up. I didn't even know that existed as a problem. Just one more of the many problems we're dealing with. All right, so consistent contact to natural land from an early age. That's what these kids are doing here. And an environmental mentor in your life. This is Terrence. This guy's amazing. He's the best mentor I've ever seen with these kids. He's just an incredible guy. Came out of the woodwork, just came out of our neighborhood. No credentials. Someone asked me what my credentials were, if I needed any credit here for I don't know, landscape stuff. And I said, actually, I don't even have any credentials. I don't know. I don't even know what that means. But this guy came in the same way, but he's got charisma just dripping off him. Back to your passion statement, right? And so he's changing kids. It's unbelievable. So you need the mentor, you need the land, and then with the trailer, the park, and the transportation, suddenly we have a program. So our program started by teaching kids. Now, we don't just teach any kids. We teach kids that live close. How do you know? So we work with schools within a 2-mile radius of our centers. Why? Why do you think we do that? If someone calls from 3 miles away, which happens all the time, we say, sorry, we're fully booked. You're not in our service area. Why do you think we do that? Yeah.
So they can see what's in their neighborhood?
Yeah, so they can come back after school. And they can come back on the weekend. And they can get a job with us, take the bus or ride a bike or walk to get there. The consistent contact to natural land is so critical, and it's so easy to try to serve the world. You can't serve the world, you can only serve the little drop you're in, right? And then from there, maybe those drops will expand, and that's what's beginning to happen, which is really incredible. So we started with education, but we were teaching the kids in our neighborhood. So when the wealthier schools on the North Shore of Lake Michigan heard about this, and we started taking off, and they said, oh, we want to get in. We said, sorry, we're fully booked. And they couldn't believe it. Right? What do you mean you don't say no to us? It's like, sorry, we're fully booked. And then we accommodated them in different ways. We got them to come in and do service work with us. And so it wasn't like we were totally ignoring the full population, but our focus area is the neighborhood. I want to make sure that you hear that. So we had education, lots of it. Making it fun with passion. We started doing urban adventures because we started running canoe trips down the river. Oh, the whole river story is another whole one. We were the catalyst that brought eyes and ears to the Milwaukee River, and it's now gone through a complete transformation where you couldn't even put your hand when I started. I mean, literally, you couldn't put your hand in it without feeling it, like a burn. Today, people are going down there and fishing. It's an amazing transformation. But we started running canoe trips with kids. We have all these canoes and kayaks. Why not use them with adults? Today, we're serving as many adults as we are kids with our programming. That was unexpected. So we do urban adventures. And we do community science. We used to call it citizen science. You guys ever heard of citizen science? Yeah, it was a term coined at Cornell University 20 years ago. We were one of the first places to really adopt it. But now we're realizing many of our citizen scientists are not citizens. So we're now calling it community science. It's a different term. I think it's more appropriate. So we do community science. What does that mean? That means at 5:30 in the morning on a Tuesday, you'll see 30 people lined up at our doors waiting to get involved with the bird banding program. These are folks in the neighborhood who are working from university professors who have trained citizens to be the lead and gotten their certification in bird banding. And so it's all citizen-led, and that research is actually published in Science magazine. So I mean, it's amazing stuff that's going on. The beaver came back after 100 years of being gone from this polluted stretch of the river. And in the last 4 years, we're seeing beaver again. And that was all because of the many hands make light work, many eyes on the river, and it all has come to fruition. It's amazing. There we go. And the other big piece we do is land stewardship, which is much more like what Trees Atlanta is doing, planting trees and revitalizing parks. We've actually built, well, we're now managing about 125 acres of urban land with thousands of volunteers. The very first burn, do you guys do burns here? You do? Yeah. So that was the very first burn in the city of Milwaukee. It was a big controversy. Everybody saying, how are you going to do it? Well, we just went over to the local fire department and said to the fire chief, hey, we want to do this thing. We explained it. He said, oh, no problem. He came over with his fire truck. We didn't even deal with permits because nobody knew what to do with it. And we did our burn. And then they made the paper, and then the big fire chief called us, what's going on? And I directed them to this other fire chief, and they talked. And they created a permit, so now you can make it happen. It's kind of neat. Why do you burn? We won't get into that, okay. So then we created this. This actually was some land that was 2 factories. It was a brownfield remediation. It was a $9.5 million project where we created the Milwaukee Rotary Centennial Arboretum. Why do you think we called it that? Right. It's practical. It's practical. So, I mean, this whole process, you gotta, earlier today we were listening to resilience around the world. It was amazing. This is sort of a, on-the-ground bootstrap way that's making it happen. And it requires that level of community, that level of engagement, that level of partnership, and that level of practicality. Where's the money? Well, then you gotta go where the money is. It's part of what you do. And we're a community center. Those instruments are just hanging on the wall. Anybody walking in can just play. It doesn't cost a dime to come into our community center. We call ourselves the neighborhood living room. You can just walk in, sit by the fire, there's a fire over here, play some music, and it builds community. 7 days a week. Oh, and this was, I was trying to find a picture with a bandana in it, and my assistant and I couldn't find any. My assistant is this young lady over here. She's now an adult. And she found this picture with a bandana. But there's a reason I wanted the bandana, so this is just my cue to tell you. Okay, so we're doing education, we're doing community science, we're doing research, we're doing stewardship.